So this veto was overridden by the Ohio House, and it has to do with eliminating emergency and replacement levies. So first off, I think a lot of people don't quite understand how are those levies different than maybe renewing a normal operating levy?
First, let me try to make it really simple. I think the legislators are looking for property tax relief, and we get that. And what that means is they're trying to reduce the amount of property taxes. But it's really not a property tax issue, it's a property valuation issue. What that means is properties are very, very expensive now, and they weren't pre-pandemic. So they've increased a lot in value, which means the taxes have gone up. And to your question, what this does is it limits local municipalities, police, fire, and schools from generating additional money. So what happens is when you have a replacement levy and it goes on and the property taxes go up, well, you get more money. And so I think what the legislators are trying to do is they're saying that's unfair, that homeowners are unaware that they're going to be charged more when there's a replacement levy because they're unaware it's connected to how much their houses cost.
How could this impact then funding for local school districts?
Well, if you're not allowed to put those operating levies on, then you're operating in the arrears, meaning things continue to become more expensive and you continue to have the same amount of money. Here in Dayton Public Schools, we haven't had a levy since I believe 2008. That's 17 years. That was Dr. Mack and his team. And that levy attempt, no, actually it was Dr. Stanek, and he passed the levy. And so we have not had one since 2008. So we want to be able to have a levy on at some point in the future. The Board of Education, myself, the treasurer, the business manager will work together to think about what that looks like in the future. Not now, but in the future.
And how challenging is it then when you're working essentially with the same budget? And I know school districts can carry over reserves as well, and so that's a whole nother kind of conversation. But how challenging is it as you are trying to, give students what they need and maybe expand as the times and the needs change?
You've done your homework. You said the key word, expand. And we want to reimagine education, transform it, and that takes money. Things are different now than we used to be. For the folks looking at watching this interview, the days of sitting in rows of chairs and having the teacher teach and you write and respond, that's over. We create experiences now for kids so that they can learn through those experiences, and that takes lots of resources. And that's just the age that we're in now.
And can you touch on I think there's a different focus on maybe even mental health nowadays and different things being available for students. Those things also cost money, right, when we're talking about health. So can we touch on that?
Oh, you're absolutely correct. Social-emotional wellness is a very important component of what we do in education now, post-pandemic. And when we think about it, we think about children. I would say that adults as well. We have to work through social-emotional programs for them as well. So that also adds the cost, as do increases in special education, which always continues to grow. And so these are things that we can't stay static with a budget from 21. We can't stay static without having the ability to put on levies. This is not just difficult for schools. As I mentioned before, it's difficult for police, fire, the entire community. We all suffer.
Can you talk about, there's a lot of changes at the federal level that I think people have an idea of how it might trickle down, but there's not a real clear picture yet of that. So when you're looking at changes on the federal level, when you're looking at the state making their own changes and adjustments, can you speak to how challenging it is to work around these things, to try to predict these things?
Well, I would say that almost every superintendent in the country is going to be able to relate to what I'm going to say, urban superintendents for sure. At the federal level, we have about $7 billion, close to $7 billion being held by the federal government. And it affects after-school programs, it affects extended day programs, it affects our McKinney-Vento or our students who are unhoused. It affects our most vulnerable kids. It affects consistent after school and before school programming that we have. And in addition to that, it affects staffing and also professional learning, the ability to bring people in to teach or to send people out to learn. It really is something that lots of superintendents around the nation and treasurers and all the academics are talking about.
What, to your point, you said, we understand that people don't want to, their property values are going up. They're really not wanting to pay more taxes, So what is your message, I guess, as a superintendent to representatives who are deciding some of these things and voting on some of these things that will have some sort of impact to school districts?
My message is to address the property value issue. And then in doing so, then maybe you can address the property tax issue. I think we're looking at it reverse. We're looking at property taxes first instead of looking at what's going on with the valuation issue and how do we address that. But just that I think that this is politically, this is something that's dividing lots of politicians. There are folks, no matter what their party is, who support public schools, who are opposed to us not being able to raise funds to enhance education, as you said. So this feels nonpartisan. In fact, the governor is a Republican, and he vetoed it because he didn't think that these restrictions should be in place. So it's a very complex and interesting time.
If you could touch on, because now also the income tax has been changed to a flat rate. School districts do get some money from income tax, correct? Mm-hmm. So how does that piece of the puzzle also play in when we're talking about funding?
So anytime you have a cap on income tax, it's really a double-edged sword. If you're saying that you're going to reduce taxes or even get rid of property taxes and then use income tax to fund schools and other things, and then you have a cap on it, now you've also again capped our resources. I'm not sure what is exactly going on, but it just seems like a lot, and it just seems all directed at public education.